not once per turn.
And comment on the video. Hey YouTube, Winkreeble1 here with my boy Chris, who got first place at 2 locals, one at Wasteland and one at Beehurst. He was playing, or is playing, Marincess. He's going to show us the deck, and for those of you that don't know the deck, this is a brand new deck that just came out. Has a lot of potential now, obviously, as you're gonna see right now, and we're just gonna get right into it.
Yep. So, the deck's been out for a little while, but they did get a lot of recent support that's made a huge difference. It's made it completely playable now. And I've been piloting this deck for a while, but now it's finally, like, winnable. So we're going to start with 3 blue tank. This is your main starter. It's Gazelle. It's Pot of Duality for Marincess monsters. And on its own, it literally can bait Ash by dumping. And then you just go excavate. You probably should find it anyway. It's the best one you want to find in your hand. Second best one is probably going to be Spring Girl. Spring Girl is a chain block as well as just another normal summon. It's a name. That's probably the biggest difference between the deck now and the deck before. It just has a lot more names, and this is one of them. It's probably the best card you could draw. On its own, it can get you to a Link 4, no problem, and it'll have a negate. Moving forward, we also have 3 Seahorse. This is mainly just another name, but it's also on its own a 1-card Link 4 as well. It's kind of bad because it's a level 3. If it was a level 4, this deck would probably be tier 1, but for now I say it's probably at best tier 2. But with a good pilot, you could win against anybody. We have 2 Pascalis, 1 Maiden, and 1 Mandarin. I've contemplated on playing 3 Pascalis, but you really never want to draw 2 of them. And drawing 2 of them at 2 is a lot less likely than drawing 3. So I was originally playing 3 Pascalis and 1 Maiden. And then I tried 2 Pascalis and 2 Maiden, but I realized Mandarin is just an essential extender. On her own, she can get you to a Link 4 if not interrupted. And probably the easiest thing to say is it's probably the best dump off of Blue Tang late game. Starting early, it would probably be Maiden. Late game, it would be Mandarin for sure. And as an extender, she also can be recycled with Bubble Reef. And then we have 3 of the main GOAT of this deck, and that is Marincess Dive. This card is absolutely cracked. If you don't control the field spell, it's a monster reborn for one that's a non-link, and if you control the field spell, you can special summon one from your deck. The one you really want to summon from the deck is Pascalis if you have another one in hand. Otherwise, Blue Tang will get you to Mandarin, and then from there you just have a whole combo lineup. And I do play 2 of the field spell, we'll get to it later, but I do play Desires in this deck, and banishing 1 Battle Ocean, if you play one, is pretty much detrimental, because you lose pretty much all the necessity that this deck provides, whether it being 3 for an extra attack boost, or whether it's just chain blocker for when your monsters activate their effects. And then we have the 1 wave. I was testing to play 2 waves and 2 dives, but I realized wave sucks going first. It's really bad going first. You never want to see this in your hand because it literally won't do anything unless you get to a Link 3, and generally your opponent tries to stop the Anemone or they try to stop the Sea Angel. So it's best at 1 because you don't draw it as much, and if you can't get to it, I do play Crystal Heart. I'll talk about that later, but that would be the way that I get around it. And so, you know, this is just the best lineup that's worked for me. You can play test with different ratios if you like, add more or less hand traps or add more combo pieces, but I just prefer that. That's the Marincess lineup. For hand traps, pretty standard. This deck plays, I believe, like 9 or 12. 3 Veiler, 3 Ash, 3 Nib, 3 Imperm. Yeah, this plays 12. This is not only defensive, it's also offensive. Nib especially, because if you summon an unbreakable monster, if you summon the towers and your opponent needs to get to a certain place to combo off, you can activate Nib and your monster's fine. So you'll still have your spell and trap negate if you have Argonaut in the field. You'll still have a crazy beater on the field if you got Bubble Reef. If you have any of the Link 3s, they just have high attack. They're all beaters once you can attach links to them from the graveyard. Nobody really abuses the field spell as much as I do, honestly. I'm the only person I know that's activated it multiple times in a turn. Most people just wait till the end, till they have the last monster. But, I mean, it's a great chain block, so I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I feel like more people should start doing that. But these are the hand traps that I play. Obviously, in the side deck, I change it up, but I'm not going to be showing the side today, only because it's different for you depending on your locals. You should always play what's best for you. You should never try to limit yourself to what somebody else does. All this is interchangeable, whether it's too expensive for you or whether it's not enough for you. For extenders, we have 3 Signet Mining. It is a fully Cyrus deck. You don't search any of the monsters that are hand traps. You only search the combo pieces. Everything else, you could literally have 4 hand traps in your hand and 1 Marincess monster, and you've pretty much got a Link 4. So the other ones, even if your opponent stops you, you can still play to their turn. And then when they're done playing, like, you basically are going to stop them halfway through their turn. They're not going to be able to get a full board. And essentially, you're just going to get back on track on the next turn. You'll most likely draw either this or a combo piece. If you don't, guess what? It's just extra negates for your opponent. This is interchangeable. I was playing originally 3 droplets. But what I've realized is droplet really doesn't do much going second for this deck. And the biggest reason why is because you have to get rid of a lot of resources in order for it to be usable. And what you're really getting rid of is cards that if they were going first, they've already set up a board that if they can stop you from getting to your main boss monster, it essentially just is a brick. It doesn't do anything. And if you're going if you're going first and you can't use it and you set it, you're getting rid of valuable resources that are meant to stop your opponent from attacking over you and whatnot. And then lastly, like I said before, I am playing Desires. You play a lot of 3-ofs in this deck, and you don't want to see all of them. So if you draw Desires, if you're able to get to a combo piece and get Wave back to your hand, once you see this and Battle Ocean, you can Desires all you want. Everything else is pretty much useless. And then, because it is a combo-heavy deck, we are going to play the 1 Call by the Grave. Originally, I was actually playing, when I was playing the 3 droplets, this was Feather Duster, but I realized this is just a lot more essential because, again, combo heavy decks, they need to be able to have an out. And that's it for the main deck. Going into the extra deck, we are playing, again, a bit of a controversial decision, but one that I think is actually a necessity, and I don't know how people are topping without it. But again, just to start off, we have 2 Blue Slug, we have 2 Sea Angel, and then the controversial beast. We got the 1 Marincess Crystal Heart. Now, the reason why I play Crystal Heart and not any of the other ones, in terms of ratio, like I could play another Blue Slug, or I can play the Stealth Kraken, which I don't. I think this is just an essential piece. And the reason why is because you don't need to play Cross Out if you have this. This deck's main loss condition is Nib. Once you're going into your combo, you need to get... You'll have Sea Angel and Blue Slug on the field, and that's 4 summons already. So for your 5th summon, it could be Crystal Heart, and if you have an extra monster in your hand and you summon it and you go into any Marincess monster, it's unaffected if the field spell is on the field. If not, you don't have to go into it. Just go through with your play and see if you can get to a Link 4. If not, you'll have four hand traps in your hand or something equivalent to that. And that's the beauty of this deck. You're able to make a towers and not be punished for it. And the best part is, if you can make it and you're not punished throughout the entire combo, it's not only unaffected, but you've also got ways to stop them from playing the game. And you'll hit once for 4k, you'll go again, you'll draw another hand trap, you hit another time for 4k, it's game. That's just how I've been winning, honestly. We have the 2 Anemone. So we also have 2 Anemone. Anemone is pretty much the one that finalizes the combo. Normally, you go into Blue Slug adds something back, you go into Sea Angel will get you the field spell, and then you go into Crystal Heart. Once you go into Crystal Heart, if you have a monster on the board, or if you can get a monster from the graveyard, like by adding Dive, and you have field spell in hand already, which is very common because you play 2 field spell, it's pretty easy to just go into this. Now it's unaffected, they can't Valor it, they can't Imperm, they can't Nib you, and you just go into from a monster from the graveyard, you summon back the Crystal Heart, and then from there, you just go into the Link 4. And that's really the biggest combo piece. To help you with that, in case you don't draw all the necessary combo pieces or you don't draw crazy, you got the 1 Splash Mage. This will help you go into a Link 4 with a single negate with the Blue Tang combo, if you draw nothing else. And if you are going second, this is probably the best MVP. Because if they play a combo deck where they have Hulk, and you're able to stop them, literally, on my turn, I take their Hulk and I go into a Link 4. I literally need to do nothing. This is the best card for that. And this was originally Stealth Kraken for me, because again, I wanted to keep the Crystal Heart, and the Splash Mage is a necessity. But honestly, like I said, the Kraken just didn't do anything for me. It did once when I was when I got nibbed and I had a really big token. and I essentially just popped the token and got game that way, but that only happened once. It was not happening more than once, so this, in my opinion, is a much better play. Also, this is also a way to get the nib token off the field, or any nib thing off the field. Like I said, this deck loses to nib if it's interrupted enough. So, going into this, if you're going second and they have Halk in the grave already, this is your way to get to a Link 4. So, going into the Link 3s, we have the one Coral Triangle, and then we have the one Marble Rock. Marble Rock, honestly, is probably the least valuable Marincess monster of them all, truthfully. She does not do much. In late game, she comes up a lot, but in early game, she can honestly be cut. If you want to play Stealth Kraken or Access Code for anything, you should probably take Marble Rock out, because this one is definitely not doing much. Marble Rock is good because it helps you get to the trap card. And going second, if they're somehow able to break your board, this is your one block recycle, and then you can go into the Bubble Reef, then special summon this back, put it in the graveyard, and you're pretty much good to go. This card is pretty nuts. And for the Link 4s, we are only playing these two. We are not playing Wonderheart. That card sucks. Argonaut is what you mainly want to start with. If you don't know what your opponent's playing, you can never go wrong with a Spell and Trap Negate. This would be good if they get rid of your Argonaut and you want to summon it back, because if you have Sea Angel in hand, you banish this, you get to this, and then this will be able to bring this back. You banish the Sleepy Maiden, equip one to this, you have a Spell and Trap Negate, and like a 4800 Beast. And then for the last two monsters, the obvious necessity play, you have the Shark and the Toad. I needed English Shark, but I don't have one, so this is the only one I have. And then the Toad. Thank God I bought this card when it was cheap. I got it for like 10 bucks. Now it's worth $1 million. So whoever doesn't have one, I'm very sorry. This is probably the most expensive card in this deck that you'll have to buy. This and the Dives. Apart from that, this deck literally will cost you less than $100 to build entirely, because everything got reprinted. I've had this deck for years. Like I said, I've been piloting it for a long time. It sucked for a long time. Now it's good. You know, everybody thinks I'm playing a tier 1 deck because I try to buy the best stuff. This is the only deck I've been playing for years. So, yeah, that's the deck profile. Like I said, I'm not going to show the side deck because it really does depend on your locals or where you're going, depending on the competitive level of where you're playing at. For me, this is what works at my locals, at the places that I've been to. I got first place twice. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at. I've had to do a lot of playtesting. I've done a lot of ratio changes. But as far as like how the deck performs, it is probably the most fun I've had with any deck in a long time. It is definitely, in my opinion, the most underrated deck of the format. It was underrated to start with, and even back then it wasn't bad. It just lost to Nib really badly. Now it does the same thing, but if you can get to Crystal Heart, that's your one out. You don't need to play Cross Out anymore. You don't need to play any supplementary hand traps to prevent it from happening. This deck just goes off on its own. And the Brave package sucks, by the way, so nobody play that. Anywho, that's the deck profile. If anybody wants to comment and tell me how bad my profile is, or how bad my ratios are, or why I shouldn't play Crystal Heart, you can leave that in the comments, and we respect all the hate and whatnot. So, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment your opinions, and we'll see you on the next video.